The belief that Jesus is God is a central and significant teaching in Christianity, so significant in fact that if true, it places the Christian faith in a unique position amongst the world religions. For if Jesus is divine, then not only did his presence on earth prove the existence of God, but it also seems to make Christianity the exclusive means by which to attain knowledge of God and salvation. Biblical support for Jesus' divine nature is found in passages such as John chapter 1, where we read, "The Word was God, became flesh, and made his dwelling among us." In his letter to the Colossians, Paul writes, "The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation, for by him all things were made." Many Christians also believe when Thomas exclaimed, "My Lord and my God," that he was testifying to the divine nature of Jesus Christ. In church history, the belief that Jesus is God has been enshrined in creeds from very early on. The Nicene Creed, for example, states that Jesus is very God of very God, begotten, not made, being of one substance with the Father, by whom all things were made. Subsequent creedal statements have continued to develop and reinforce the belief that Jesus is both fully God and fully man. Yet despite these assertions, it's difficult to understand exactly how one person can be both God and man at the same time. For instance, many Christians believe God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and present everywhere, and that the divine Jesus denied himself the full extent of these attributes when he was on earth. But what about others? For example, in 1 Timothy 6:16, we read that God is immortal, which means God has and will always exist. Yet this begs the question, if Jesus is God and God is immortal, how did Jesus die on the cross? According to Christians, he did not just appear to die, but actually did die. But how does an immortal being actually die? If Jesus died on the cross, then it seems he was not immortal, but a mortal being. But if he was not immortal, then how can he be God, as Scripture teaches us that being immortal is something God is? It is also interesting to reflect on how Jesus' family and friends treated him. If Jesus' divinity was something Thomas came to recognize after spending just 3 years on the road with him, then might we not expect that those who watched him grow up for the first 30 years of his life would be even more in awe of him, especially as they would have also known the details of his miraculous birth, the angels appearing, his divine purpose, etc. Ironically, this seems far from the case. Instead of having an attitude of reverence and awe, they seem utterly bemused by him, wondering what he is doing, where he gets his so-called powers from, why he says the things he does. At one point, even telling him to stop what he's doing and go back home. The behavior of some followers is also strange if Jesus was divine. Judas stole money from him and betrayed him. Thomas denied the possibility of him being alive again after his death. And then there is Peter, who despite being his closest friend and confidant, who despite seeing his glory revealed on the Mount of Transfiguration, who despite witnessing countless number of miracles, even the healing of his own mother-in-law, in the end denied he knew Jesus. Jesus, the one who is said to be the Word made flesh, one substance with the Father, the Creator of all things. Time and again in the Bible, we see that those who find themselves in the presence of God are literally awestruck, brought to their knees in fear and trembling with a sense of complete and utter unworthiness in the midst of such an experience. What did people do when they met Jesus? Some followed him, some liked his teaching and were amazed at his miracles. Some told him to go home and stop being ridiculous, and some got really angry about what he was doing and had him put to death. Is Jesus God? Many claim he is. But what do you think?